apparently didn't have this on. What? Sorry. But so Epicurean restaurants usually are not really honest to Epicurus, in a sense. They're a misnomer, and there's a neat. I should give you a warning though. This is Malthio's Feast. Spelled it right. So this might. Can you turn a couple of the lights off? Thank you. So it's easier to see. Maybe there's one more. No? Thank you.
Questo vino bisogna che gli fate onore. I pesci devono nuotare. Grazie agli dei io non compro. Tutto quello che fa saliva mi viene da un mio podere che chissà dov'è. Dicono che sta tra Terracina e Taranto. Io mi devo sconfinare con la Sicilia, perché mi voglio fare un viaggio fino in Africa. Così a piedi, a cavallo o anche per mare, navigo sempre sul mio. Simile in questo al sempre errante Ulisse. Mi piace la citazione? Anche a tavola i classici ci stanno bene. Questa qui è la prima barba che mi tagliai. Io sembravo Genoma a 14 anni. E questi sono i rani miei, protettori della nostra proprietà. Afferone, contentone, guadagnione, propizi siano gli dei. Siete curi a sei? Sei nato il caso sei d'acquisto.
Né l'uno né l'altro, sono stato lasciato per il testamento da parte.
Cocina più grosso, cocina, ma attento che se non vi è bene te passano la demuria dei scovini.
Una volta un povero ricco veniva lì.
E che cos'è un povero?
Bravo, questa è buona.
Guarda il naso.
La giornata se ne va come niente. Metro di volte, hai visto? La notte. Allora non c'è niente di meglio che passare dal letto alla tavola. Abbiamo avuto un gran freddo, il bagno mi ha scaldato a stento. Ah, bene che mosche siamo, bene che mosche. Loro una certa resistenza ce l'hanno, ma noi niente più che delle bolle siamo.
Un po' così come diceva il contadino che aveva perduto il maiale mezz'anno.
Nella sua mano il piombo deve andava oro, era più nero che un corpo. C'aveva più di 70 anni e ancora andava in colore. Non lasciava in pace nemmeno il cane di casa.
The young man on the left is the star of the movie, actually.
Ma come l'avete già cucinato? E la pesce non l'avete nemmeno aspettato. E me lo portate così, in comodo chiamatemi. coppi vero, dove l'hai aperto?
Pietà, mio signore,
Legatelo e frustatelo.
ho sbagliato, ma abbi pietà.
Allora che aspetti, disgraziato? Mettilo qua, adesso.
Una meraviglia! I porchi, dalle incazzate, prendete gli uccelli, con le salsicce, con le più moderne, chiocciole, quello da puzzata, prosciutto, colatello, le mazzone!
I guess I should have given you a, what kind of warning is it called? We're supposed to give you like some kind of a warning before we show you something that you might find horrible. I forget what it's called. In any case, that was from Fellini. Fellini was the director, famous Italian director. That's Satyricon, which is a work based on an anonymous Roman author from Nero's time period. And it's supposed to reflect the way at least some rich people lived. Basically they're at a feast where they eat all day long. And in this, where they help him up to take him to the bathroom, it might have been the vomitorium, which was where you would go, because if you're eating all day, you can't, actually. So what they apparently would do, might be true, is they had what are called vomitoria, where individuals at a party like that would go and gag themselves till they threw up, so they could make more room to go back and eat more. Having fun all day, eating. And that was considered by many Romans to be Epicurean. And yet, when you read Epicurus, it's totally wrong. Epicurus wanted people to have a good, happy life, but it was supposed to be long, not just, overdoing it. Don't go out and get drunk, and then feel rotten the next day. Instead, you have moderation, so that you're basically taking good care of yourself and having a good amount of various things. Today, you would certainly want exercise to be part of your routine. You would want to eat decent foods that are good for you. You might not want to use alcohol at all, depending on what you believe to be the case with regard to the health benefits or not of those kinds of things. You certainly want to smoke. You want to have relaxing time during your day and so on. All that kind of stuff. Good advice, and he gives you that. He also tells you ought not to be worried about death. Because when death comes, you're no longer there. And so you're not feeling anything. And before you're dead, you're alive. So basically, death is nothing to us, so don't worry about it. The worry about death is actually the worst part of it, is what he gives. Yeah, kind of interesting. Epicurus. Does believe in the gods. So, we don't know anything from the Cynics, whether they are supposed to support gods or not. Clearly, Jesus refers to the gods, so if he was a Cynic, he thinks of himself as the Son of the Father, and the Father in that sense is the divine, and we're all sons perhaps of the divine in that sense, as being human. But in any case, Epicurus believes in the gods, thinks they're there, but worshiping them and asking them for things he thinks is just nonsense, because they could care less about us. We're like ants running around and big animals stepping on us. The main thing you want to do is try to figure out a way to stay out of their way, right? Don't get the gods angry with you for doing something. So Epicurus, kind of interesting. And notice he's much more attached to things, to a community. The next one well, actually, I could go back to, well, here's some things that I have on my notes on my website about Epicurus. Happiness is an escape from trouble. Prudence is basically Aristotle's golden mean. Death is nothing. The fear of it is the worst of it. Pleasure is the greatest good, but philosophy teaches which pleasures bring the least pain. Life without fear and anxiety. And many of those that currently use Epicurean are actually being contrary to his teachings and so on. But then we have Epictetus, and that website looks like it has disappeared. So let's not go that way. Let's instead go here, and I have an example from Epictetus. These are the discourses, and there's others. And Epictetus is an example of a Stoic. The word stoa comes from the word porch in Greek, and stoa was where one of the great Stoics, Zeno, who was a Stoic, not the same Zeno that we see with Parmenides, by the way, I don't think, but in any case, Zeno was a Stoic. He taught on the porch, and the pillars were actually painted, which is pokoile, so they were the Stoa Pokoile, where he taught his followers, so they're called Stoics for that reason. But the Stoics are even more involved in the community. They take Aristotle's argument that in order for you to be a good person and to have flourishing, your community has to be flourishing. And so they feel it's an absolute requirement that somebody be involved and run the community so that it's a good community. And so a Stoic is someone who's trying to avoid all of the miseries of life, and yet at the same time participate in all these things that can help make you miserable, actually. If you've ever gone to a assembly meeting and sat there for hours listening to all the complaints and so on, it's absolutely amazing the patience of so many of the people that do that kind of thing. They sacrifice so many hours of their week in order to try to make this community a wonderful community. So my hats off to them for that kind of sacrifice and doing that kind of thing. And running for mayor and running for politics. You know, if your goal really is to help and do the best you can for the community, this is kind of a Stoic attitude, right? The idea that in order for you to have the good life, the community must be the best kind of life it can be, right? But you still want to be happy. And so there's an interesting Stoic trick to being happy despite how boring the jobs might be, or dangerous. You know, if you're a firefighter or a policeman or in the military, and you're willing to fight in the most dangerous places and so on, how do you still have a flourishing, happy life? Well, the Stoics tend to avoid being in the moment. They have a way of withdrawing mentally from the miserable nature of what's going on. One of the really fascinating examples of this is Viktor Frankl. Anybody familiar with him? You might, if you're in Viktor Frankl. He's dead now, but he was a psychiatrist during World War II and was in the I think 3 of the different camps that were part of the Holocaust. Because he was Jewish, he was a psychiatrist, medical doctor, but he was Jewish, so he was locked up along with many other Jews in these camps. He ended up surviving it, just dumb luck, basically. At the very end of the last camp he was in, the Germans ordered them all into a truck and they were going to drive them away, and he was too exhausted to get into the truck, so he stayed where he was. The truck drove off. They killed all those people, and he survived, and it was right then, I think the next day, that the Allies came and rescued all the people that were left in the camp. So he survived, and then went on to be a practicing psychiatrist